And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another GrowVeg Challenge live session. We are having a wonderful live session with our doctor today, Dr. Abidemi Talabi, who will be speaking to us about choosing the right vegetable for your climate and market. And I want to use this opportunity to welcome us all for joining this live session. Please sit back and learn beauty, learn very educative tips from our doctor. So I'm also going to introduce my co-host here with me, Sharon. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you
Good
for
evening.
joining us today. My name is Sharon. I'll be hosting with Ms. Neye and Dr. Talabi today.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And Dr. Bidemi, it's lovely having you as well. Please kindly greet our audience before we ask you the questions that we have for you tonight.
Okay, good evening, everyone from wherever you are watching. I'm so much excited to be online today to speak with you guys. At the behest of my colleagues here, Neye and Sharon and Mr. Tunde, they insisted that I come live today, and I was like, okay, I'm happy to come live. So good to see you guys, and I look forward to having a wonderful session with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It's a pleasure having you here tonight.
You're
So
welcome.
for the first question that we have for you is on selection of crops. So what are the first three things that you consider recommending to our participants and others who are looking up to sign for the GrowVeg Challenge 4.0? What are the first three things that you can recommend for a crop, especially for a specific location like Nigeria?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that very wonderful question. Well, yeah, there are a couple of things actually to consider when you are recommending a crop for a specific location. Of course, in this context, I'm referring more to vegetable crops. The first thing I would consider if I want to recommend a crop is actually to see the climatic requirements or the weather requirements of that particular crop, and to see if where I want to grow that particular crop is going to give me the kind of conditions that would allow the crop to thrive. Okay, so what am I saying? I would like to point your attention to the fact that people can grow their crop in the open field or under controlled environment, right? But whether you are doing it under controlled environment or you are doing it in the open field, you need to still have information on the climatic requirements of that crop, and to be able to know whether the environment where you are growing that crop will provide that requirement. That is really, really very important. That's number one. The number two thing that I will be mentioning is that I would also want to consider, the soil type or in the environment. I need to know, have adequate information on the soil. Now, I will not say soil, I would call it growing medium, because some people might decide to grow their crop in the soil, while some people might decide to use soilless based growing medium or media, so to say, for growing their crops. So, irrespective of what you are using, you need information, adequate information on the growing medium that you want to use to grow your crop. So, if I'm growing my crop in the soil, for example, I want to know what are the nutrients that are in the soil, the ones that are present and the ones that are absent, right? And the ones that are present, I want to know whether they are in, adequate quantity or they are in excess. All of this I need. I know the pH of my soil to know whether it's acidic or it's basic, whether I need to do some amendments before I grow my crop therein. So I want to know the EC, electrical conductivity, to have an idea of the salinity, because all of these things come together to also affect nutrient availability. So if you are doing that, if you are using soil, so even within controlled environments, so people are still doing soil-based farming. So you see the structure is there, but inside they are still planting in the soil. So if you are doing that, you need the information about your soil. What is the soil texture? What's the water holding capacity? Is it basically sandy? Is it loamy? Is it clay? And all of this information you need, because different crops have different type of requirements. And if the soil you or the growing medium you want to use for your cultivation is not meeting the requirements of that crop, then you need to make amendments. For those who are growing in a soilless medium, like maybe you are using cocoa peat, perlite, or a mixture of them, or you are using rice husk and thereabout, you might not really have much to bother about. But you still have to get information also on the drainage within that medium, because we have all of these things calibrated, right? So these are the good things that these are the first two things I will pay attention to when I want to select my crop. And the third one which is very, very important, is I'm going to pay attention to the market. The market. And what do I mean by the market? I've always said this over and again, that you don't grow what people are not asking for, right? So I want to be sure which particular crop is in high demand in my target market. So wherever you are targeting to sell your produce to, you need to be sure that that crop is actually a kind of crop that is in high demand in that particular environment. And of course, not just in high demand, you have to know some specifics as well. There are some consumer end users preferences, right? So some people have some preferred varieties that they want. So you have to be sure also that that variety that you want to grow is a variety that meets, maybe the taste, the color, and some other preferences of the consumers in that particular target market. So these are the three things I would consider. Of course, there are more than three. Yeah, but these are the top three. Of course, like I've always said, when you are selecting a variety also, it has to be a variety that can also comply and grow within your own local. At least it must have the basic, resilience and tolerance to the prevalent pests and diseases in the local environment. So all of these couple of things are the things I would consider to recommend a crop for a specific location. Thank you very much. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Now to our viewers, you can see that with just three things, just the first three things that we asked, and it's already like a course. So you can imagine what more you will get when you join the GrowVeg Challenge 4.0. And we are super excited to see so many of you join. And those of you who have joined, we're also super excited to see how far you are going to go with this challenge. Thank you so much. And if you're just joining, you're also welcome as well. Back to you, Doctor. So, looking at small scale growers, what
Yeah.
vegetables, or would I say which vegetables, offer the best returns per square meter for them?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this wonderful question. It's actually not difficult to answer this because basically when you have if you're some small scale farmer or you have limitation of space, so to say, you want to consider crops that can grow very quickly. They have short duration. So usually we recommend like the leafy vegetables. They are like this kind of crops like lettuce is a very good crop that gives you high returns on per square meter. We also recommend crops like the leafy greens or microgreens, right? Herbs like parsley, and the likes. So all of these kind of vegetables are the ones that you can recommend if you want, because most of them we even but of course for lettuce we will need about 45 days, right, before it completes. We are able to harvest. But for this parsley, herbs, all these other leafy greens, within 21 to 30 days, you are able to harvest them and then eat the market selling. So for people who are considering space limitations and stuff like that, they can look at this. Yeah, definitely it will give them higher returns per square meter. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. Um, Now we know that most people who are joining this challenge are also looking to know whether a crop is going to sell well in the market. So, what are those reliable indicators that you can suggest for us to make us know that this crop is going to sell well in the local markets?
Okay, thank you very much. So, well, one of the indicators that I would mention is that a crop that would sell well in a local market must be a crop that is already in high demand, and probably you are not having enough supplies to meet the demand. So when this happens, then you will be very much sure that this kind of crop is going to sell well in the local market. That's the first indication. The second indication could be that you have a bit of lesser competition for this particular crop, but I mean, it's in demand, but you are not having too many people in the market to actually compete with you, so to say, in terms of production. So some people might be looking at producing some premium kind of vegetables, which are not the normal ones. So when you produce this kind of vegetables, but people, there is demand for it, but the competition is a bit less. So you that are producing this kind of like maybe this heirloom tomato and some other like a specialty crops like this. These are the kind of crops that it's another indicator. There is lower competition for the crop. Yes, you can be sure that this kind of crop will sell well in the local market. Another thing is that, of course, I already mentioned that it's in high demand, and how we know that the crop is in high demand. We have information from the National Bureau of Statistics on what people are spending money on, and within what people are spending money on also, in the different categories. Maybe some people are spending money on rice, maize, vegetables put together. You can see what percentage is going into that on a yearly basis, and that gives you that information already. Yeah. But when you go to the local restaurants, the chefs, you should see all this particular crop on the menu. Like, if not the particular crop, so to say, it must be something like a product that requires this crop as a raw material, should have already been on the menu. And this will give you an information, or that this particular crop is going to sell, right? There should be also this kind of locally available information with the farmers. You should be able to also know which particular crops is going to sell when they are asking for this particular crop, because they have seen that over the years they have better returns on investment growing the crop. The crop also gives them, it's easy for them to grow, unlike other crops. It has basic resistance to pests and diseases and likes like this and things like this. So this particular crop looks like it will sell in well in the local market. So those are the indicators I would be mentioning for now. If there are other ones, then we can also talk about them later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate the insight that you shared. I want to use the opportunity to welcome us again. I want to welcome Oluwaseun Olufoye. Thank you. Good evening to you as well. And we have Adepoju Adewale. Hi to you as well. Thank you. He's greeting us from Oyo State. You're welcome. Thank you for joining this live session. Then we have Fama Nasifi Hassan. Thank you also for listening and joining to this session. And thank you for appreciating Dr. Abidemi as well. We appreciate you all that have taken this time to join this live session. Then I'll be moving over now to our next question. So, Dr. Abidemi, how does seasonality affect which vegetables you recommend planting now?
Okay, thank you very much for this amazing question as well. The one
Thank you.
thing that everybody must know is that some vegetables, in fact, not just some vegetables are season specific. Okay, so there are some seasons that you are supposed to grow some vegetables. Like in Nigeria now, we know, okay, we have the rainy season, we have the dry season, right? Uh, you need to know what specific vegetables are you able to grow in the specific seasons that you have found yourself. Because if you don't have that information, you might end up growing a variety that has not been bred specifically for that season. A case in point is tomatoes. Now, for those growing tomatoes in the open field, we already know that when you grow, there's a variety we call diva. When you grow it in the dry season, it's not going to do well because it was not bred for the dry season cultivation, right? But when you grow it in the rainy season, you are able to get the most of that particular variety. But we have another variety of tomatoes, for example, the platinum, which actually has stability across seasons. So when you grow it in the dry season or in the rainy season, you still get something very good. You have optimum productivity from the crop. So it's very much important to have the information. If you want to grow leafy vegetables, for example, and also it's important to make sure that you understand the particular type of vegetable crop you are trying to grow and the kind of climatic conditions that are required, because they also come with the seasons, especially if you are growing in the open field condition. So if you are growing tomatoes usually and bell peppers and all of this, they usually prefer a bit of drier, conditions when they are being cultivated. But if you are looking at lettuce, and some other kind of crops like this, these ones will prefer it to be wet, right? So these are the things you need to consider when you are making, you know, your decision on which particular type of crop to grow based on the season that you are planning to grow the crop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We can see that we are learning a lot from Dr. Abidemi and to all our viewers. I'm sure I want to believe most of us here have signed up for GrowVeg Challenge 4.0. And if you've not, please do not hesitate to do that. There's still more in stock for Dr. Abidemi and other experts to share with you as well. So, Dr. Abidemi, you talked about tomato varieties. Now, looking at tomato varieties and looking at our country here in Nigeria, which of these tomato varieties can you trust, or can we farmers trust for yield and disease resistance?
Okay, thank you very much, Neye. I would also want to quickly mention that, you have to know that some varieties have been bred specifically for open field cultivation. Some have been bred also for controlled environment cultivation. And some also have, they can be grown in both. So I'll mention some of them and then we'll go forward from there. So for tomatoes, for example, we are fond of growing Diva, um, Platinum, Cobra in the open field, mostly in the southwest. And I also have people in the south. Most of the people in from our GrowVeg challenge from Rivers, they grew, the likes of Platinum, Diva, and they had very amazing results from growing them. And when you're not talking about the greenhouse, you now start talking about the beef stick, the songa, and then also, like I said, some of these varieties can be grown in boats. Like diva, people also grow diva in the controlled environment, like in the net house, so to say. People also grow cobra in the net house. So these are the varieties of tomatoes that I would mention for now, and many of them, most of them actually come with basic resistance to the common fungal diseases, and then also these bacterial blights. A couple of them have moderate level of tolerance to this particular disease. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So now looking at soil testing, how important is it before choosing a crop? And what is the minimum number of tests a farmer can a farmer can do?
Okay, thank you very much again for that amazing question. Yeah, I've always said it's the first thing. It's really very important for you to do soil testing when you want to grow a crop in a particular soil. Some people sometimes they just think that it's all about being sure that the crop, that the soil is fertile enough. No, 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 no. It's more than that. Okay. The first thing is that you want to know the nutrient levels, right? What are the present nutrients or the elements in the soil, and which ones are lacking? That's the first thing. And the ones that are present, I think I mentioned the other time, you want to know whether they are actually in toxic level or they are in deficient level. So you want to know whether you need to add more or to, try to amend the soil so that the toxicity will go down. That is one. Another thing is that you want to know the pH of your soil. The pH is really very important because there's a pH range, mostly about 5.5 to about 6.5 or 7 thereabout, is the recommended pH range for vegetables that would make the nutrients to be available. So that means you might be applying nutrient, but because the pH is not right, some of the nutrients will not actually be available for the plant to absorb. So you need information on that, and that's why you need to do soil testing, especially for those who are growing in soil-based system, right? So that's another thing. The first thing is that the third thing I was talking about is that what's the soil texture, right? What's the water holding capacity of the soil? All of these things will give you an indication of how to schedule your irrigation and other stuffs like that. In Nigeria, we don't have too much problem of water. That's why people just use water anyhow, right? But even when you don't have problem of water, you don't want to flood the plant with water that it doesn't require, right? Here in Dubai, we know that every drop of water counts. So we want to estimate
Yeah.
and know exactly how much water the crop requires. So we don't want to give more than, and we don't also want to give less than. So precision is really very required, right? So these are the couple of things that you need to do, and you need to maintain. Now, people need information also on the microbial activity in the soil, because when you are growing crop on the soil, you want to make sure that the crop is a living ecosystem on its own. Okay, is a living ecosystem on its own that, apart from supporting the growth of the crop, it's surviving on its own. It's a living ecosystem, right? So, and this is the only way that you can grow healthy crops. Okay, when people grow crops, sometimes they don't even know that the crop that they are growing is not healthy. It looks big, the yield is there and everything, but when you do the analysis of the produce, then you get to know that some crop that people think that, excuse me, please, have been produced the right way are not actually healthy, right? And you don't get to see the effects until after a prolonged period of consuming such crops, right? So it's very, very important to have your soil testing done, and then you are now following the recommended dosage, for the recipes and the nutrition that is required for the crop. When you have the information, you know what is required, what more you need to add, what to modify in the soil, whatever amendments are required, and all of this. So this is the reason why you have to do soil testing. And when you're asking for the minimum test that a grower should do, basically, I do on the minimum, I do two, right? I do it at the beginning of the cycle and at the end of it, because I want to know what was the basal information when I'm starting, and then what is the information after I've finished. Sometimes, if I'm seeing some deficiency, or I'm contemplating or I'm suspecting some foul play in the soil, then I could do it also while the production is ongoing. But at least do when you are starting and when the cycle is over. That will help you a lot. And of course, now you are not asking me for the sustainable agricultural practices to maintain the soil. So I'll just stop here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can see that if we leave Dr. Abidemi, he's going to give us a full course here tonight. But as we said, if you want more, please register for the GrowVeg Challenge 4.0, and you have access to access more information on soil testing and many other topics. So I'll be handing over to my co-host shortly. But before I do that, I would like to recognize our viewers tonight. I will start with Victor Bassi, thank you for joining us. Yes, he said he missed. Okay, you didn't literally miss because you can always go back to watch the playback video on either Dr. Abidemi's page or you visit Leverage Fresh Limited Facebook page and you can watch the playback video. We also have Dr. Issa from Zaria, Kaduna. Thank you for joining. You're welcome. It's a pleasure having you here with us. We also have Joseph and Tony. Good evening to you as well, sir. Thank you for joining us. Then we have someone from Akwa Ibom State, um, Annie B's, Annie B Hub Ventures. Okay, sorry, Mr. Udofia. All right, thank you for joining us this evening, and greetings to you as well. He's thanking Dr. Abidemi. Thank you also for appreciating him as well. Then we have a question from Herbert. Doctor, please, before we go to the next question, can you quickly help us answer these questions? He said, "Are
Okay.
tomato
Thank you
veg?"
very much. Thank you. I see. Yeah, I saw the question. So, Mr.
Yeah.
Albert Turianjayanda. Sorry, I don't know the name. I don't want to murder it. So, you see, this is why some of you need to register for the GrowVeg challenge. Some people think that tomatoes is fruit, and then you have fruits, vegetables, right? So, tomato you can call it a fruit, but it's still a vegetable because the part of the tomato that is being consumed is actually the fruit. So, it's a vegetable. Bell pepper also is in the same category, right? And even the chili pepper, right? But there are some. You see, some of the vegetables are also flowers, right? Oh, you know the flower vegetable, right? Broccoli is flower, right?
Yes.
Consuming the flower part. So some people don't know that broccoli is a vegetable because we are hitting the flower part, right? And some of them are in the roots. That's why you have the likes of when somebody is telling you onions, no, onion is the bulbs. When you're talking about carrots, right? It's a vegetable, but it's from the root, right? Ginger.
Yes.
So this is the whole thing. So I believe that Mr. Harvard got the response. Yeah, tomato is a vegetable, and you have different types of vegetables. There might be different parts of them that are being consumed. That does not stop them from being vegetables. Okay, thank you very much. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you very much. So I'll be
Yes.
handing over to my co-host Sharon. Please, over to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our dear viewers for staying with us till now. Doctor, also, thank you so much. Yes, before I go into my next section, Doctor mentioned that soil testing is more than your soil being fertile. It is an indicator for you to test whatever you're going to be putting in your soil, your fertilizer, your irrigation, which is very, very interesting. So I'll be asking Doctor now that when is it better to show grow when is it better to grow fast turnover crops versus longer term crops?
Okay. Thank you very much for this amazing question, Sharon. Many people have asked me this question over and again, and I just told them, see, this question, you are the one that will answer it yourself, oh, because it's more of the decision is more to your side than to my side. But I'll just tell you the things to consider, right? Somebody who is planting a fast turnover crop, probably you are new to farming. You don't want to tie your capital for so long, right? So you want a crop that will give you quick returns on investment. We do it a lot. So even within the short duration crops, we still have some with shorter duration. So when you see somebody who is planting cucumber on one side and planting tomato on the other, he knows that within 6 weeks he will start harvesting from his cucumber. Cash flow is very important in business. There must be money, moving in and out, right? So that area is already secured within 6 weeks. But your tomato can stay up to about 3 months before you start harvesting, right? This is one part I'm just mentioning. But I know in this particular context, you are talking about somebody who is growing probably maybe an annual crop compared to somebody who is growing a perennial crop, right? So for me, I always tell people, you have to know what is, do you have money? So for example, now, if you want to grow this short duration crop, you know that immediately you start cultivating within some, like I mentioned even earlier, all these leafy vegetables and all of this within 1 month, you're already having them. Lettuce, 45 days, you have it, right? Cucumber, 90 days, of course, from 6 weeks to 90 days, you're harvesting, right? Watermelon, all of these are short duration crops that you can easily grow. But somebody's talking about, I want to grow apple. Eh? You know where you want to grow apple, you know what it takes. For the first 3 to 5 years, nothing for you. You are just trying to be sure that the plant is properly established, the root system are being established. But once the apple start producing, what happens? It continues to produce for another 30 to 35 years. The same thing applies to the perennial crop. So, like somebody who's growing oil palm, somebody who wants to grow coconut, cocoa, and all of these things, for the first 3 to 5 years, you are just going to be, ensuring that the crop is properly established. Of course, you have to look at the pros and the cons. If you are growing short duration crop, the labor requirement is very heavy for you. Every cycle you need people to cultivate the crop, every stage of production. Look at cucumber. You can, in fact, very sensitive crop. You cannot miss 1 or 2 days. If there is a particular activity, the crop is not going to forgive you. Cucumber particularly, people say cucumber don't forgive people. When you make a mistake with the right timing, you are done for. Tomatoes is there. All of this crop require heavy labor requirements. But look at if you want to cultivate 1 hectare or even 2 hectares of a perennial crop, once it's been transplanted, there's minimal labor requirements. Even when you want to clear the field, because of the wide spacing, sometimes you can easily mechanize it, and just a few area you can now ask people to do manually and all of this. So you have to consider. So you need something that will be giving you money in a short time, or you have enough money. So if you don't have enough money to wait, you should do short duration crops so that the money start coming in over and again, right? But if you have enough money, you are not in a rush. You can put in the investment there, and you don't mind to wait for 5 years to start reaping from that investment. Do perennial crop, right? But I advise people, you do a combination of both. In fact, not just a annual and no. There are different categories. There is also medium. For somebody who is growing cassava, yam, banana, this crop take about 1 year, and a year plus, but not more than 2, right? For you to get to recoup your investment from them. So you can do a part of your field to the short duration crops that we get back within 6 months. You have started getting something back. Another one where within 1 to 2 years you are getting something from it, and then another one, that can stay longer. If you do this, that helps you. In the short run, you are having the cash flow from the short duration crops, so you are not having problems with cash, right? But in the long run, when your field, where you have the perennial crops, is fully established, that is what this is what people do for generational wealth, actually. But most people, we want immediate gratification. We don't want to wait. Okay. But what I'm saying is that even though you don't want to wait, let there be a portion of your field where you don't want to wait and you can be having the cash flow. Yes, very important. Let there be another portion of your field where this thing can grow for, a longer, get established within 3 to 5 years. And after that, it continues to produce for you without much effort. Another 30 to 35 years. So this is very, very important. So these are the things that was why I mentioned earlier that it's not about it's not a question I can answer for you. It's a question that you have to answer based on the available resources to you, based on your interest, based on your own context. Then you can answer the question of, okay, which one do I want to do now? Which one do I? So I always recommend the integrated approach. Have a mix of the three, and they are good. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did, Doctor. Very interesting. Whether fast turnover crops or longer term crops, it depends on you. But the cash flow is important.
Very important.
So, moving on to my next question, I'll be asking you that: how do you advise growers to price produce for local market versus premium or retail buyers?
Okay. Yeah, this is another very beautiful question. Thank you very much for that, Sharon. So, whether you are producing for the local market or for a premium retail buyer, the first right-hand rule is that whatever price you are selling for must exceed your cost of production plus at least some profit. Okay? So what do I mean? I've always talked about cost-benefit analysis. I don't know. I can also repeat it again. It's very easy for you to calculate how much you are spending on producing your crop, factoring in your capex, and then your OPEX, okay? And by the time you factor in all of these costs, it must zero down to the fact that you are able to say that to produce 1 kilogram of tomato, I'm spending 1,000 naira. And then you're able to ask yourself the question, okay, in normal general market, how much are they selling a kilogram of tomato? Maybe 2.5. Then you are saying, okay, I spent 1,000 to produce 1 kilo, but I'm able to sell it for 2,500. You can see that you're having a margin of what? You're having a margin of 1,500, on the 1,000 you are producing, that's almost about 150, percent profit, right? So what will I say? What I will say is that when you know this, you're able to calculate. So when I say when you are talking about your cost of production, even if you have a greenhouse, you should be able to amortize the cost of your greenhouse over the number of years that for the lifespan of the greenhouse, and come down to be able to apportion a particular component of that cost into the season where you are producing for that particular crop, right? So when you have that, if you have machineries and all of these things, all of this can be amortized. So in a season, you can know how much actually is being depreciated from the value of that particular structure or the machinery. And again, when I'm now talking about your OPEX, where I'm talking about the inputs, you are talking about your seeds, you are talking about your agrochemicals, you are talking about your fertilizers, all of these things, you need information on them, right? They have to go into your cost of production. Then another very important part is the labor. You need information on the labor. How much are you spending on labor within that season for that crop, right? So all of this are still talking about the cost of production, bringing it down, right? After you know what you're spending on labor, we know what we're spending on water, irrigation, okay? Water, irrigation. Here we spend a lot of money on water, right? Again, how much are you spending on energy? Whether you are using solar energy, like I mentioned earlier, if it was solar, you have to amortize over the lifespan of the solar, and then know how much you are partitioning and effectively charging to each cropping season, right? So, but if you are using a generator, how much are you spending on the generator? You understand? In terms of, so that's the cost of your energy. Factor everything in and make sure you are able to come to the fact that, okay, oh, I'm spending so amount to produce 1 kilo of this crop, and then this is now how much I can sell. So this is the first point, and we teach this extensively in the GrowVeg challenge. So every of our participants know exactly how to calculate this. Of course, we're in a live show, so I'm not able to, talk beyond this. I can only explain to the best of my ability. But the part now where you are talking about the local market versus the premium or retail buyer, the local market is like directly, business to customer. So most times when you are doing business to customer, you are able to sell at a better margin, right? And like I mentioned the other time, you are producing at 1,000 per kilo and you are selling at 2,500, for example. That's a big margin, right? So, but if you are selling the same crop to a premium or retail buyer, it's like you are selling to them in bulk, and then it's like business to business. So when you are doing business to business, at least there should be about another maybe 15 to 20% discount on the regular price that you are selling to, the local market. So this is just what I have always known, okay? That so when people are buying in bulk, you need to drop the price, okay? And you know that they are also going to sell again or probably use it to produce other things that people are going to consume. So this is the way to look at it. But like I mentioned, the rule of thumb is that whether it's to the local market or to a premium or retail buyer who buys in bulk, you have to make sure that the price you are selling it is more than your cost of production. And I have explained clearly how to get the cost of production. So that's the way to look at it. Cost of production, make sure your selling price is more than it so that you are able to have a sustainable farm. You cannot be selling at less than your cost of production and have a sustainable farm. No, you will not. Okay. So this is what I would say. But when the premium or the retail buyer is involved, you can drop 15 to 20% of the normal price and you're good to go. For example, if you are dropping 20% even from 2.5, for example, that's like just you are selling at 2,000, right? So that means you are selling to the local market as at 2.5, but to the premium buyer, you are selling at 2,000, and he is still able to resell or probably package it or probably add value to it and sell far higher than what you are sold to them. So this is my submission on this. Thank you very much.
Yes, there's no farming, or there's no without proper budgeting, without having your cost of production. Imagine
Yeah.
this knowledge doctor is dishing out. So if you not join the GrowVeg challenge, imagine your knowledge. So let me use this opportunity to let you know that our registration is still ongoing. So you can register with us through www.leveragefresh.com. You can register online. You can reach out to any of the facilitator. You can go to our Facebook page, Leverage Fresh. You can just type Leverage Fresh and you see our details. If you need any assistance, you can message or contact anybody. We will actually attend to you. www.leveragefresh.com is our website. You can click on the link and register. So, doctor, moving to the next question, I'll be asking that what post-harvest practices most improve marketability and reduce losses?
Hmm. Thank you very much again for this very amazing question. Post harvest is very, very important because I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Post harvest handling is very, very important because most farmers lose what they have spent maybe months to labor for. They lose more than 40% sometimes just to post harvest handling alone. So this is a very, very critical part of any production system. I mean, any crop production system must really pay attention to post harvest. Okay, and what are the things you want to do? You want to be sure that when you harvest your crop, the freshness and the market value is retained till when it gets to the market. Okay. And so the first thing that you need to know is the right timing. Okay, now let me start by saying, okay, the right stage of harvesting, for example. So, for example, when people want to harvest their tomatoes, you don't wait till the tomato is completely red. When your tomato is completely red before you harvest, it's already approaching a stage that is now going beyond ripening into spoilage, right? So you want to harvest when it's just turning red, right? So these are some things to look out for. Of course, there are stages, and then people can now select and say, oh, this is particular stage for recommended stage for harvesting. That's number one. I mentioned that for tomatoes, it might be different from others. Now, look at very clearly somebody who is harvesting leafy vegetables. The time of harvesting is very crucial for you. You want to harvest at a time where there will not be so much heat. The crop is actually it actually respires. Okay, and when respiration or metabolism is ongoing, you know what happens. So the crop begins to shrink. Okay, so for somebody who is harvesting lettuce, you advise the person to harvest very early in the morning where everywhere is very cool, right? But for people who want to harvest tomatoes, you know that tomatoes you cannot harvest when it is wet. So we always advise that people harvest immediately, at least late morning, not very hot, but at least you are sure that the fruits are dry. Because when you harvest tomatoes with water also, it actually accelerates spoilage when they are in storage or probably in transit. So these are a lot of things, but there are bits of crop specific here and there. Another thing that you need to also know is that after you have harvested your crop, how are you able to keep the crop in the right conditions that can actually help it, to minimize metabolic activities, right? For some people, on some farms, they have some storage conditions like temporary storage before they move actually their produce to the field. So you see somebody wants to store tomatoes at about maybe 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. Somebody wants to store bell pepper, you want to start about 10, to 12 degrees Celsius, thereabout. And then relative humidity should be high, about 90%, right? So all of these are the conditions that people have to pay attention to. Again, these are, I just talked about time to harvest, the right stage of maturity or ripening to harvest. I also talked about the fact, that you can actually move them into a temporary storage before you transport them to the field. Now the transportation, how do you handle it? If you are not, we always recommend people should do this cold chain logistics, right? So you are able to transport your harvested produce in the recommended, storage conditions so that they don't lose value before they get to the market. If you're able to do the cold chain logistics for your movement of the produce to the field, it's excellent. But if you're not able to also, you can ensure, some things are not cast in stone. You might not have all of this right now, but it's discretionary. If you have this basic information, you know what to do. So if I harvest my tomatoes and I don't have a cold storage, I know I cannot keep it in under direct sun. I look for a shade to keep it there, right? At least I reduce the temperature, right? Again, when you want to move it in, when you want to transport them, maybe you want to transport them when when you are sure it's not really very hot, maybe late in the evening, or a bit of things here and there that we can improvise just to be sure that you are trying to obey or keep the right conditions for the storage and preservation of your produce. So these are the things that I would say can help you to improve marketability and reduce loss. And of course, some other aspects that would go maybe I would not call that post-harvest handling. I would probably call it valorization. Valorization is when you're now converting the produce into other things like other products that can help you to improve the market value, help you to increase the shelf life and stuff like that. Some people look at that aspect, like converting your tomato to paste, or probably drying your tomatoes, and then some people also converting their pepper to grinded pepper, chili and all of these things. Those ones are valorization. But post-harvest handling properly, know the right stage of ripening to harvest, know the right timing based on the kind of vegetable that you are growing. Also, pay attention to the conditions that you can store them temporarily before you move them, and also the conditions that the produce are being subjected to when you are transporting them to the field. So these are the things I would just mention. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doctor. For our viewers, thank you for still staying with us today. So, Clara said, method of harvesting is also a key in reducing post-harvest losses.
Yes,
She
that is the
mentioned,
GrowVeg. That is our GrowVeg participant from Sierra Leone. Yes, thank you so much,
yes,
Clara, for that addition. Yeah, the method of harvesting is really very important as well. Some people also they don't know how to harvest; they just go and they're cutting the fruit like this. You need a sharp object, scissors, or probably sickle or whatever to do the proper harvesting and all of that. Yeah, thank you for adding that. Yeah,
yeah. And Mr. Boy from Kalu says he's in Ghana and is enjoying the talk. Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
so much.
We are grateful. So, moving on to the next question, I'll be asking that how can a beginner test market for crop with minimal investment?
Okay. Well, this one is a very, very good question. So, somebody wants to test the market just to know which particular crops are in high demand and all of that. Yeah, because of course, in theory, we know that the data is there. The historical data is always there that we can fall back on to have the right information on which of the crops are in high demand. What are the market trends, information on the market trends, consumer preferences, and all of this. Yes, 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 yes. I agree. But if you want to test the market, how can you do it? The first thing is that you still start from that theory, okay? You still go back and do your research online, or do some basic research about the different crops that or probably the particular crop you want to test, okay? And after you've done that, then the next thing is for you also to do some physical, survey. You can move around to a local chef, ask them information about that crop. Do they like, oh, I want to grow this particular crop. Is this a kind of crop that is already on your menu or something you would like to try? Right? You ask that man, you go to a farmer and ask, oh, I have a crop in mind. Is it a crop that farmers here are happy to grow, or probably they would be happy to see somebody grow it? A lot of things like this. So you move around the market, also you go there to make this kind of inquiries. And then after you have done that, then you can now decide, maybe you have some area of land and you can just apportion it. The goal here is not profit. You want to test the market, okay? So that means you are not really looking for profit at this time. You just want to be sure that this crop is something that people would actually like to probably buy, okay? So in that case, you can now decide that, okay, I'll just grow maybe about 50, 100 stands for this particular crop. Maybe you are doing tomatoes or whatever. Don't mind, I love tomatoes so much. So you can now grow whatever you are growing. And by the time you grow it, you are now able to see. Sometimes when you are doing this, you can even have some little packaging for your produce and send them to these chefs. Let them test it. Let them look at it. Is this something they like? Is this something they will appreciate to buy? You can send some samples also to the local market, and you can also decide to sell some, because the goal here is not that you want to sell to a whole city. No, you just want to test and see what is the response of the market to this particular produce, right? So this is how you can do that. And by all of this, you would gather some information, see which one corroborates the one you already had from secondary data, and then compare with the one that you yourself have now, the information you have gathered by implementing and testing yourself. Again, if you're already a farmer growing other crops, you can still keep it side by side with your other crops when you're selling and see how people respond to it, how excited are they to see the crop and all of this. So this can really give you an information with minimal investment. Like I said, the goal here is not to make profits, it's for you to test the market and see how it responds, or actually how it's willing to accept your crop, or probably nobody wants to see the crop in the market. Thank you very much. I hope I answered your question. I cannot hear any of you. I can just see you people smiling though.
Yes.
Yes, sorry. I said from the question, you're able to answer that the goal is not the profit we want to make, but the
Yeah,
information we need to gather, you want to gather. That
yeah,
is where when you're testing your market, you should not be so interested in the profit so per se, but the information you're going to gather for the crops you want to plant or you want to take to the market. So now, doctor, my next question says, or I'll be asking you that we've been having past cohorts, so we would like you to share one success story where choosing the right vegetable transformed a participant's income. Did you?
okay.
Yes, success story.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that amazing question. In fact, we have a lot of success stories. In fact, sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the success stories from the participants. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know we are making this much impact, right? So, but one that, a case in point, was even one that I shared on my Facebook page, and so many people came, oh, come and tell us how it happened. It's not possible. He said, I was just laughing. If you know, how to, if you know how to calculate your figures, it's very easy for you to know whether something is possible or not. This particular participant was from about 1,000, a bit above 1,000 plants. He made 2.6 million from tomatoes, right? And because he chose the right variety for his local he grew his crop in Ogun State. Okay, he grew his crop in Ogun State, and based on our cultivation guide, we have cultivation guide for all the crops. So he was able to choose the right variety of the crop, and I've mentioned some of them earlier when I was talking of tomatoes, and he chose the right season to grow the crop, and not just the right season. He chose the period when the produce was selling very high in the market. So someone said, how did he get 2.6 million from just 1,200 crops or something like this? I cannot remember exactly. I said, yeah, it's very much possible, right? And I've told people, sometimes we produce in a season and you don't need to produce again for the year. It's a question of having the right information. And I've always said, so this is it's always a big joy when people come to my DM. And what made me very happy is that guy, his name is, what's his name again? I just know he was the first runner up for the GrowVeg Challenge 1.0. Fasasi Basuridin. Yes, that's his name. So you can even check him. Yeah, but Fasasi Basuridin, you can Google his name and see. He was the first runner up in the GrowVeg Challenge 1.0, and he won 200,000 naira. And he added the 200,000 naira to do a couple of things, and he came back. He even told me that he's still coming to share his testimony about the pepper. That from the pepper he made a lot. I think the pepper maybe around 500 stands or whatever. He was making like 1.4 million. When people are here, they don't want to understand. They cannot understand, right? But the guy sent a comprehensive message to my DM thanking me for. I was like, my God. So these are the stories that we hear that really gladdens our heart. So for me, it's a very good one. I was really excited for him, and it's just one out of many other participants. Some other participants did not win anything, but they did a lot. They made a lot of profit, from their engagements, just following the production guide, asking the right questions, engaging with colleagues on the platform, on our support platform, pulling a crowd. People call me direct. Sometimes they send me message. Now even our participants, they have opportunity every month at least to book a clarity call with me. Now I've started that every month on Thursdays only. Anyway, on Thursdays only, I'm able to talk to the people that belong to our community on one-on-one basis. You can even book a 15 minutes call just to ask me, Doctor, I just want to see your face. Anyway, that was on the joking. That was on the lighter note. Anyway, but what I'm just trying to say is that there's a lot of opportunity. You just have to tap into it. Okay, so that's it. I have a lot of success stories. I share one of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Imagine just following product activity guide and you're making millions and making money. And that is very interesting. Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Fasasi was our first one of our winners in GrowVeg 1.0. So I'm using this medium again to tell you that if you're on this video, if you are sharing this video and you've not registered for GrowVeg Challenge 4.0, you can do so now. You can tell a friend to tell a friend. You can register through www.leveragefresh.com. Register and join the train. The train is still going on before it moves out. Join us. So, Mr. Lanre says, Dr. Talabi always deliver nothing but value. Thank you, which is very, very true. Mr. Abbott says there that thank you for the post harvest information. It was very helpful, and he's seen this video from Uganda. Imagine we're having different people from different countries seeing this live video. Mr. James says, I'm from Kenya and I'm proud to belong as well. Thank you for joining uh, our live video. We are grateful. Thank you so much. So for our viewers that you're still staying with us, we're saying thank you for still staying online, and thank you for still joining us. So I'll not be saying my last question, but my final question, I'll be asking that: what final advice will you give to someone choosing their first crop for both climate resilience and market success?
Hmm. Thank you very much for this amazing question. So, well, what I would just say is this: the goal when you are starting is not to feed the entire city at a go, right? So the first thing is that you want to master one thing. You want to prove your concept. You want to be able to, build loyal customers, like build customer loyalty, and then you can create a sustainable foundation from there. So for me, I would just tell you that uh, if you are choosing your first crop for both climate resilience and market, all the things I've mentioned tonight, just go back to the video and follow through the things to consider, right? Where you want to grow the crop, the kind of climatic conditions required, okay, the soil type, again, what the market is asking for, and then the characteristics of the variety. You want a variety that is having high yield, that combines high yield with resistance to the prevalent pests and diseases in your local environment, right? You want the ones that are adapted, specifically bred for your conditions and all of this. So you have to consider all of this. And apart from that, please seek knowledge, okay? Seek knowledge, have a mentor, join cooperative, okay? And then, the world is a stage and the sky is your starting point. So these are the things I would say. Just go back to what I've said earlier, follow through, and ensure that you belong to a community, okay? Belong to a community, participate, okay, and then be involved, okay. Have somebody who can mentor you as well, and then you come back to say thank you. These are my final words for you. And if you have not joined GrowVeg Challenge 4.0, please you can go ahead to join. Interestingly, I forgot to mention we have two packages actually. One is for
Okay.
those who are going to wait, till September 15, where we're going to start. And the other package, that one is the one we call GrowVeg Challenge. That is the one that goes for 40,000 naira. And the second one is the one we call GrowVeg Premium. That one is express service. If you pay that money, 55K like this, you have access immediately, instant access to all the pre-recorded videos. You have the supportive community, immediately access to the supportive community, access to all the production guides. Again, you have access. You can send me a message. Don't just call me directly. Send me a message and book appointment, right? And then you can also talk to all the other instructors that are on the platform, and then you are good to go. That one is express service. If you want to do express, you pay more. That's the way it is. So people who pay 55 instantly, they have the access. But people who are paying 40, they have to wait till we start properly. It takes a lot to really prepare for this course, and we want to deliver nothing short of value. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you guys tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Esther, thank you so much for joining to our viewers. I'm seeing this messages from Annie Bisventure saying, I love this class. I love this class and I learned something on soil and post-harvest practice. Thank you, doctor. So I'm
Well,
using this medium again before we say good night and goodbyes for today. That the train is still ongoing. You can join the classes. Our classes are worth the value, are worth whatsoever we are giving for the price. In fact, it's worth more than the price we are giving. If okay, sorry, Dr. Emma says doctor knows what is doing best. We doctor knows what doctor doing what he knows best to do. So our Bible saying that you can join our training. We have the package, just the doctor said, the premium package, and for the 4.0 challenge package also, the one for 55,000 naira and the one for 40,000 naira also. So our viewers tonight, we say thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate you, and
Thank
Dr.
you.
Talabi, thank you so much. Miss
thank
Chineye,
you.
thank you so much for joining, and we
Thank
have come
you.
to the end of our live section for today. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a wonderful night
Bye.
rest.
And you too, sir.
Thanks.
Okay.